My biggest sort of filmic inspirations for this film were like the movies of Alfred Hitchcock and then like the early films of M. Night Shyamalan. And I think like both of them, when I looked to a lot of their own behind the scenes footage and their interviews to kind of study how they made their films, because all I wanted to do in this film was like emulate them. Like from the beginning, this was like, this should feel like a classic Hitchcock movie. This should feel like a Shyamalan movie where every frame is designed, every frame is telling you multiple pieces of information at once. You're not just cutting randomly, like everything is on purpose. And I remember making a pitch packet right in the beginning of the film and giving it to like every crew member with all the sort of like statements about the movie, like this is what it is, this is what we're not. And one thing we were always trying to do was make a film that felt very on purpose. Diane Sherman is played by an actress named Sarah Paulson, who is one of the, if not the best actor I'll ever probably get a chance to work with in my life. When we started this film, I asked her if she'd be okay to hearing like this biography that I'd written for the character, or if she wanted to sort of create that for herself. And she was like, yeah, totally, send me everything that you have. So I ended up writing this like 10-point font, 15-page biography of her character, her mom's character, her grandma's character, every tiny little moment in their life that you never see in the story, that are just sort of reflected in like details on her costume, or like little objects in her bedroom or in the house or something like that. And like, I wrote this thing, sent it over to Sarah, and I remember spending like 3 or 4 days just only going over this document. And she would ask me questions about like, okay, but in that past, what happened here, or what happened here, and we'd kind of adjust the story and everything like that. And Sarah is such a fantastic actor who has so much experience that like, that all she has to do is soak that in. Run is a bare bones, white knuckle, classic thriller that starts off basically on its first frame and then up until its last frame is still a thriller. And I think like this movie does not stop. It's like 90 minutes of just like this. I remember people when we would show the film to some early audiences, like dude, you could see the marks on the seats on the side, like where like the, when your sweat like holes and stuff like that, and people would be like, I didn't breathe for like 90 minutes. And like, that was the intention, to tell this movie with such few elements in it, single house, 2 characters, and still make you feel like that. And I think like, in a lot of, if that was the goal, then like we really, I think did a good job. But yeah, if you want to hold your breath and see how long you can hold your breath, it's probably a good movie to try. It feels like Run is so much a response to our last film, Searching, the way that our next film is going to be a response to Run. So like with Searching, we made a very, very like technologically complex, someone would say gimmicky, but like we would say complex, like film with a lot of 1,000 red herrings and like all these elements working all at the same time. And to me, like I wanted to sort of prove to myself as a filmmaker that I could handle something a lot more like normal, And so what I wanted to do was, instead of jumping from this like really, really cheap movie to like this $40 million movie, just kind of take a small step and see if I could make something that was small, super contained, and like hold the same amount of tension, suspense, and excitement that Searching did, except this time with like 1 or 2 characters, 1 house, a very contained space, and just see if we can still like keep the audience emotionally engaged and at the edge of their seat. So with those sort of parameters in mind, we started looking around for stories, and then we saw something in the headlines one day that made us like think, and like we're wondering like, wow, I wonder if the subject in that headline was less of a victim and more of a hero, what would that story look like? And we started to sort of reframe it all and realize that like what we were onto was something that felt very old school, ideally Hitchcockian, sort of a thriller there. And we just realized like this might be the perfect movie to make next.
完璧で優しい母親表変迫り来る毒母から逃げろ逃げろ逃げろラン